Still says, okay, do you still hear me?
Yes, I do. Can you hear me?
Yay!
Determination, right?
Finally fucking worked. It just means I'm gonna have like 5 YouTube videos where one of us is staring at the screen going, no.
It's just the expression of 21st century, like, angst. I mean, that's what it looks like. It's just,
Yes.
my friend.
Okay, I'm gonna remember for next time to make the titles of these hangouts just very forceful. I'm gonna say that was the secret, is the one I was like, we're gonna do this.
Obviously. I like that now we're just too irritated to care about being like live on the internet. Like,
Yeah,
I don't
no.
care anymore.
At this point, like some stranger could pop and I'd be like, stop with you. Like, we're gonna talk about a book. You wanna talk about it with us?
We did it though. It's so great.
Whew, okay.
Oh man.
To be like quasi-profesh about this. So quasi, because we've passed the point of real professionalism.
The most quasi.
Well, I'm Kelly. Who the fuck are you?
I'm Julia, motherfuckers.
And we're gonna talk about
Yay!
Kirsty. Yay!
It was so good.
It was really
Wasn't
good.
it good?
Oh my god, wait. Before we start though, I was gonna say, should I start a timer? Because we can talk about a book for an hour. I don't know if people want to watch us talk about a book for an hour.
That is a fair point, especially without any other people offering input.
Yeah, so I'm gonna set a timer for like 15 minutes, which I think is just enough time for us to do like some of the strong stuff. And then when the timer goes off, we'll do like final thoughts, yeah?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, cool. All right. Boom, timer started. Back to semi-professionals.
Do you want to give like a summary of the book?
Yes, but that's very difficult.
Since ostensibly we have people who haven't read it.
Yes, okay. So the GraceKeepers focuses primarily on 2 young women in a world where they don't specify how, but most of the land has been taken over by water. It's a very water world, both the movie and the way to describe it. One of the young women lives on land, a very small island. The island she's on changes throughout the book. And then one of the other young ladies is part of a traveling floating circus with a bear.
Which sounds ridiculous.
But it's amazing.
It really works. I think because it has this kind of magical realistic tone to it. So like everything that happens, you're like, yeah, totally, sure. That makes so much sense.
I have to say that's like one of the strongest things about this book is the setting of it and the world building of it is so incredibly deft and subtle. And even though there are definitely parts of it when you're saying it out loud, you're like, that sounds fucking crazy. But the way you read it, it does feel very much like, yeah, of course. Of course that's how it would work. Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, people are worshiping the trees because
they live on land. And
yeah, and the land has gotten so small.
And that there's a very interesting class system between those who are on the water and those who are on the land. And it's weird because it's strangely subverted throughout the book where you have people on land who are like, ew, fuck those water bitches. And the people on water are like, those land people are idiots. But then there are definitely some that buy into it where you have people on water who want to be on land and people on land who want to be on water because they feel like it's freer. So it's a very interesting class system they've got going on here.
It is because it's extremely rigid, but the benefits of the one aren't necessarily embraced by everyone.
Exactly. Yeah.
And everyone worships their different gods, and I thought that was oh my god, and the cruise ships with all the revivalist people.
So good.
Such a great detail. Such a great detail.
Oh my god, like they're terrifying and just horrible, like, but in terms of, again, the world building, it makes perfect sense the way they exist in that way. But also like the mailman, like whoa, in Waterworld the mailman becomes really fucking hardcore.
Yeah.
It, again, weird to say out loud, makes total sense in context of the book.
It does, because you'd have this different relationship to your job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it'd be way scarier. Obviously, it is.
Oh, yeah, much scarier. And I should say, spoiler alert, very, like, super, super minor spoiler alert for people watching at later, whatever. This book, we found it on an LGBT writers list, and there's subtle lesbianism in it, and it's delightful.
It is lovely. That was really subtle too.
Yeah,
right? I appreciated her, and there's queerness throughout the book too, because the circus is obviously an inherently queer place. But yeah, I mean, it didn't hit you over the head with it, but also wasn't queer baiting.
Yeah, like it's actually really there. It is really felt, but it is discussed in a way of personhood and the emotional sense of home. You know, like it's not in a way of like, hey, look at all these hot ladies. Ooh, someone made me banged. No, it's more about there's very clearly a connection between two characters. It is expressed in a loving way, but it also is built, or rather it's used to develop a sense of self and a sense of belonging, which I think is so prevalent throughout the book, is that everyone is kind of searching or attempting to build their place of belonging.
Yeah, whatever that looks like, whether it's on sea or land or somewhere in between. That's pretty much what everybody wants. And I thought it was interesting, even though there's a fair amount of heterosexual sex in the book. That relationship, which doesn't really seem to come to any like physical culmination, is still the most meaningful.
Yeah, that's another really good thing.
Still the most honest and like emotionally real, because everything else is just, it's a little bit transactional.
Yeah. And all the other like heterosexual sex, like you said, is very transactional. Either that or very one-sided in a way, like where one person's getting something out of the transaction, but the other is getting something very completely different.
Yeah, I mean the mailman's a good example, right? Like if I bang you, you'll take this letter for me.
Yeah. Which, wow, I don't think I want to live in a world where I have to fuck the postman.
No. No, it's interesting because this is clearly a post-apocalyptic in some way. And you could say dystopian, but it's not interested in any of the trappings of how the stories usually work. Because it has like the class divisions and stuff like that, but there's no like grand conspiracy to like overthrow the central power, and there's no like clear evil and clear good. Everyone's just trying to do their best. There's
no leftover trauma from whatever created this world. Like so many times when you have people in post-apocalyptic stuff, you have the couple of characters that I was somebody, and the old people are like clinging to that all the time. Even the few people who are kind of like, oh, I was on land and now I'm on sea. It's very clearly a choice that they made for whatever reasons that they made it. And even if they're trying to get back, it's more to say that, oh yeah, I think that's where I belong. But that's kind of the end of it. Like there's no extra trauma built into the world building.
Yeah. And you could have, there was clearly an opportunity, particularly with the military, to make this some sort of thriller.
Yeah.
And I really love that it wasn't.
And you know what I realize as I say it? There's no extra trauma anywhere. Like bad stuff happens. Like there's definitely quite a lot of bad stuff and hard decisions. But at the end of it, everyone really is trying to do their absolute best. And the stuff that happens very much serves the world and the characters. And it always feels insincere to me when it's not both. Like when you have something where it's like, here's a really big piece for the world that does so much, but it in no way affects the characters. Or here's a really traumatic event that I've written simply to make this character move this step. That again, it's like, what is the point here? But all of this bad stuff, even if it subtly has world building, it does involve it, but it also affects all of the characters.
Yeah, well, it's the fact that everyone's a little bit hungry through the whole book. At least a little bit. Usually more than that. That yeah, there's this sense of not enough, and that affects everyone on a really personal level. And like you can imagine how it affects everyone broadly. Um, but it's really it was weird because I started and I thought, oh, is this going to take a while to read because it's really quietly written.
Yeah.
But it didn't. It still like carried me along and made me interested because I cared a lot about these two young women.
Mm-hmm.
Not because I was dying to know what happened next. I did want to know if they like found each other again in the end, and I won't spoil that. But it does make you happy.
Yeah, and that's definitely something that kind of digs you in, is once you realize that relationship kind of happened. And I think it happened in the way that the best real world relationships happen, where it's subtle, it's quiet, and you just all of a sudden look up and go, oh, that person is a big deal in my life now.
Yeah, they have this strong moment of connection. And then she separates them because I thought, oh, is she gonna stow away? Is she gonna like stay with her? Because there's all this other stuff going on, obviously, in North's life.
Oh my God, and it's amazing because then they, without making a pun, they become each other's North Star, so to speak.
Aww.
I know, I'm sorry. I like that on purpose. You know my face when I make an actual pun. But yeah, like they become each other's reason, not for being, but for trying to do their best, if that makes sense. Yeah. And I think that's, again, another hallmark of good relationships is someone that makes you want to push yourself further down a better path.
Right. Yeah, the possibility for something better, because they were both surviving before that. And it seems like that's, particularly for people who live on the water, that's kind of the golden standard anyway. Like, am I getting by? But then they both realize, no, actually, like I can have someone who makes me like feel like a better person and all those, and accepts me for me, because obviously there are reasons not to accept both of them.
Yeah, and that's another interesting thing about the book is the level of acceptance of in-betweens. Just in general, anything in between. It is very kind of shunned in the moment of the book.
Yeah.
But overall, like all of this, even though as we're talking about it and the themes and everything, because there's way more themes. There's motherhood, there's honesty, there's like entertainment, there's history, there's religion. Like it's all there. Super subtle. And I was like you, where we first started it, I was like, is this going to be a little bit slow? And I read one of the Amazon reviews that essentially boiled down to someone being very angry, saying nothing happened. And then looking back on that, I'm like, nothing happened in the way that as an adult, 6 months of your life, nothing happened. You have a couple standout events that you can say, oh yes, I remember this happened here. But if you're trying to look back over the period of the month, it all kind of boils together in a level of like doing your job, making people you see, and that kind of stuff. And it's actually, to me, kind of nice to have a book written in that way where it's soft. It's not light. Like the reading is not light.
No, definitely not.
But the growth is light, where it's there, it's happening. And it honestly, part of it, because I live where I do in this hustle and bustle of a city and shit, it was actually really nice to like sit down on the train and read this, because it made my brain slow down. It gave me like a moment of pause, and it made me pay a little bit more attention to the subtext of the book itself. So yeah, I liked it.
No, that's I think that's exactly it. It, like I said, it's quiet, but it doesn't alienate you that way. You still care about what's going on, and it's pretty light on plot. It meanders, which obviously works for a book that's set mostly on the water. Right? It has kind of an episodic thing going for it. But what was I gonna say? Yeah, like you're still into it despite that. And I think this is actually a really good example of speculative literary fiction, because obviously we have a world that's changed significantly, so it's at least in the future, and there's some possible element of the magical, because you seem to have mer people. Spoiler, sorry. They seem to exist, and whether they're like an evolutionary thing that's happened or they're like actual mer people.
I love that it's not clear. Like this
is so great.
By the way, for people watching this later, spoilers. That like it's It's made clear that mer people are there, but it is not made explicitly clear at all. Like, it's just, it's an element of the book, and even though, like, reading reviews, I knew that mer people were coming, so part of the book I was like, where are they at? I mean, because you know how I am about fantastic creatures. I'm very much like, yeah, I want to know more.
Yeah, let's do it.
But again, like everything else in the book, it is a very subtle thread that when you're paying attention, you see it, and it's nice, and it's really well done. And then it just, like, this whole book leaves you with so many questions, except for the one that is most important. So yeah.
Yeah, no, it was just lovely, right? Like, it's just a lovely book, and like, you can obviously, people demand other things of it, and it's not going to satisfy you that way.
If you
also, I think she doesn't care if she does or not, you know?
Exactly. Like, if you want a book that feels like it was a movie by Michael Bay, you don't want this book.
No, you are the last person who should read this book.
If you want a book that's kind of like even a C.S. Lewis fantasy book where things are there, but it's slow and it builds, this is still not that book.
No. And Hunger Games, all that, still not you. Like, it's satisfying that interest for people who don't care about explosions.
Yeah, and I have to say, I'm making a bad joke for real now.
So okay.
Everybody watching at home, just watch Julia's face. Don't watch mine. So if you want a book that is legitimately like the sea, in that it rolls, in that, like, when you go to the beach and you see a wave way the fuck far off, and you can tell it's like big and crashing, and then it ends on like a little wave on the beach. That's kind of how this book is. It has these moments of these big crashing waves and these little bitty waves, but most of it just looks tranquil. Like, so yeah, it's very much a book of the sea, about the sea, metaphorically. Oh shit, the timer went off already.
Wow, we have not been talking. I feel like we haven't been talking for that long.
I'm gonna set it for another 15 minutes, and let's just see how we do.
Totally.
Maybe people do want to watch us for this long, or if they don't, there's like a little button with an X on it somewhere on your screen. Where you can...
or there's a little square one. I think it's called stop.
Yeah, that too. You know, just like whatever, do you? We're just having fun.
Yeah, talking about a book.
It fucking
works. Seriously.
It took forever. Okay.
Oh man. Oh, let's talk about the circus.
Dope. Okay. Dope in terms of character buildings and in terms of adding this strange mythos to people. Because in the circus, for those who have not read it yet, there's definitely factions, not classes, because they're all kind of like below the ringmaster, which of course, but like the factions of like the glamours and the and oh my god, the way the clowns are written.
I love those clowns.
So weird. Ugh.
But they were perfect. They were the perfect clowns.
Oh my god. For people who are scared of clowns, they are not like jokey, horrifying. They are more the mirror to society, which is what clowns are always supposed to be. So like in the book, they've just leaned really deep into the idea that clowns are people who look at the world, and instead of going, yes, this is how things are, they're the people who go, no, all of you are fucking mad and everything is horrible, and I'm just going to shove it in your face. But like with that thing.
No, totally. They're so aware of what their role is, and they just embrace it, and they don't care. And people try to tell them what to do, and it doesn't go well. And they were great.
So good. Oh my god. I love that in this book, to be perfectly honest, the least dangerous thing the entire time was North's bear.
Was what?
North's bear.
Oh yeah. That like everyone's super worried about the bear the whole time. We won't talk about the bear. It makes me sad.
No, I know. And that's the thing. The one time, okay, you said you weren't going to talk about the bear. I'm talking about But the one time the bear acts autonomously in the book, the one time, it is a protective act versus a destructive act. And that all the people who are the most worried about the bear are the most destructive.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah. No, good point.
You know what else they did about this story, which is, again, hey guys, a little bit spoilery. Different levels of motherhood, but ultimately, pregnant ladies be fucking terrifying. And not because, like, because there's again, it's layers and it's subtlety, and you have different characters at different stage of pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
Because I would argue that there's ultimately 3 pregnant characters in the book.
Yeah, that seems accurate to me.
Yeah, and each one of them uses their pregnancy in different ways and feels protective of their unborn in very different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it's kind of amazing to go through that. And you have one of them that is very much alpha mom in an amazingly interesting, terrifying way.
Definitely terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
But also not unsympathetic by the end. Like, by the end, you get her.
Yeah. And that's another nice thing is there are no villains in this book. There are people who do good things and who do bad things. And that pretty much is everyone.
Yeah, even the mailman, which is what I'm going to keep calling him.
You should keep calling him that. He is.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's a misogynistic douchebag, but he's not a villain.
Yeah, and that's another thing in the book is that it focuses on these 2 young women, North and I'm gonna say Callanish.
That sounds right to me.
Okay, cool, because I make up letters and names.
No, that sounded right.
But while the focus is on North and Callanish, they do introduce the viewpoints of other people, and that's primarily how you actually get a lot of the stories from other people. And you even get a peek into the mailman's head, and he's gross, but
he is gross.
But he's honestly gross in the way that a man who wouldn't call himself a feminist is gross. You know? Like, he's not douchey enough to be full on, you have to do this. But he is that douchebag that's like, well, I was nice to you.
Yeah.
Like, he's that guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's the guy at the bar. Like, I bought you a drink. Come on.
Yeah, and then when you're like, no, he's like, well, okay, what if I got you another drink? And you're like, you're missing the point. But that's who he is.
Yeah, and he thinks he's such a good guy, and he's very much like, I'm a man, and I'm gonna behave like one, and he has the sense of that, but it's not as great as he seems to think it is.
To be fair, I love that, and again, everybody who hasn't read it yet, spoilers. I love that Callanish is just like, no, like no. He's like, hey, I'm trying to be a man and also emotional and nice to you, and she's like, like, not even dignifying it with a response. She's just kind of like, no.
And when they part company, she's like, okay, bye.
Mm-hmm.
Here you go. I have stuff to do. You were not important.
And he's like tore up about it, and she's
he's like, why are you doing this? Yeah. Like, over it. Totally over it.
Oh my god, it's hard for me to say who I loved more between Callanish and North because I think I identify more with North as like the way that she does a lot of things, but there are moments where I wish I could be as calm as Callanish is, but not to say that her calm is healthy, because it isn't.
No, there's clearly some repression going on, which I think is partly why it's so delightful when she like comes out of it and snaps at people or makes other things happen. Or her and North, because she's calm with North, but in a way that doesn't feel forced.
Yeah, like both of them seem to feel settled with one another, as then they can be who they are and talk about things and what they are, which is another thing that's important. Also, I just love the idea of grace keeping. Like,
it is so lovely and sad, but you would need somewhere to put people, and you wouldn't want to contaminate the water because that's where you get your food from. Yeah.
And also, like, you wouldn't want bodies all throughout the water everywhere. Like,
yeah, that'd be gross.
So it is quite literally a watery graveyard. But then the ritual of the birds and the giving and the words is like really nice. And it makes the book cover make sense because it's beautiful. But when we started reading this book, I was like, the fuck is this? Is it a metaphor?
Yeah, it does look like,
Yeah.
It looks like a literary novel, and not in a good way.
Yeah, it looks like it would be trying too hard. But guess what? It's not. It's
Exactly, because it's literal. This is in the book. It's
I
so cool.
know. And not that all covers have to be literal. I love when cover art clearly links to the book in a very elegant way, because I think the cover should give you a hint of either a mood or a tone or like a point in a book. And this actually is the best, and it does all three.
Yeah.
Like, the weird misty mood of it is perfect, and then it's also a ritual that's happening, but then it's also the tone of the book where it's very subtle.
Yeah. No, I agree. But if this were just a book about people living on the beach, that cover would be annoying.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that cover would be like, you lied.
Yeah. And also, really?
Yeah.
Really? That's how we're gonna do it? Okay. No, so yeah, the rituals that seem to have sprung up, and it also occurred to me that they're not in very deep water for most of the book, so it seems like they may even be over continents in some places that have been, which was interesting because they dive down and there are cities.
That's another nice nod to world building that was done
Yeah.
way deep into the book. Haha. Told you knew my face when I was making a pun.
That was worse than your last one.
Well, my last one was like intelligent. This one was dumb. But anyway, like I also enjoyed that didn't happen in the very beginning of the book. Like, the diving scene gives you a nod to like, yeah, this is actually after a disaster. It's after events. You don't know how long or how far, but it's primarily done as a character building. Like, it is a world building piece, is like a secondary, but the primary part of it is building in another character.
Yeah, definitely. There was an interesting moment for what is his name? No, I forgot.
The son.
Yeah, the ringmaster's son.
Yeah.
Ainsel.
Yeah, that's who it is.
Oh, Ainsel. But yeah, that's the here. I'll do it too. That was his deepest moment in the novel.
I'm so pleased. Did it hurt?
Yes. Yeah, because he's a tool. There's not a lot of flattering portrayals of dudes.
Yes, but you know what? I actually felt the most sympathetic male-wise for the ringmaster.
Yeah, well, because he was a nurturer. He was interested in taking care of his people. And the decision he makes in the end, I thought was amazing.
Whoa!
Like, dude, like
what?
He sees Avalon with this clarity now. Like,
yeah,
bitch is crazy.
But then he's just like,
yeah, I'm gonna do what I think I need to do. I'm also gonna do what you want, and in doing that, it's not gonna be okay for anybody. But that's all right,
dude. It's like the best. Fuck you. Like, it's like, he is literally the only person. As much as he's like forces a lot of people, he's very clearly one of the few people in the book that's not just trying to survive, but he literally is trying to take care of everyone that he sees as his responsibility the best way he sees fit. Now, mind you, it's always under the way that he thinks people should be taken care of.
Yeah. So there's coercion in that.
So he's not perfect either, but it kind of feels like in the very beginning, this one isn't really a spoiler because it happens very early on, you hear the face makeup that he puts on to be the ringmaster hurts his face. It makes it really red and bubbly, which means he just packs it on all the more. And I feel like that is the most clear estimation of his character, in that he's like, well, I'm supposed to do this thing. And instead of changing what it is to make it suit my needs or those of others, I'm just going to do the thing I think I'm supposed to do as hard as possible.
Yeah. And just deal with it. And the fact that he's always bleeding.
Yeah.
A little was really telling. And then there's also glitter. So like there's a description of him like kissing someone on the cheek and it leaves blood and glitter behind. Like, that's perfect. I mean, it's cool for him being a circus master too, but yeah, like, wow.
Oh, man.
And the book is full of stuff like that, which is what I appreciate about it.
And the glamours.
Yeah.
I love the ambiguous gender of them and like the clear distinction to keep them ambiguously gendered.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, they were not the tattooed ladies who may not be ladies?
Yes, they were.
They were the same people?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's another the subtlety of the book is
okay.
describe them differently.
I thought that was the case, and then it seemed like they were in the same place at the same time all together, but no. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, the gender stuff is fascinating. The clowns are super dismissive of it, though. I thought that was really funny. They're like, "Yo, you and your like silly gender play that doesn't push the envelope enough. Like, let's really blow shit out."
Which is what makes the clowns so fucking dangerous. Yeah, that's like baby leagues.
Yeah, we don't want to make people uncomfortable. We want them to throw shit at us.
He's like, yeah, they're like, we want to start a riot.
Yeah.
We want to fight people in a riot.
Burn it down. Yeah.
They're like, you guys are cute.
Mm-hmm.
Let us fuck some shit up. At the same time, I feel like the glamours were the ones that had teeth. Like, they were the ones that were continuously just there. Or like, the clowns were unleashed, but the glamours were always there and always doing something, a part of things, and everyone needed them too. Like, in terms of keeping that glitter and magic to the circus. They were the ones that did it.
Well, yeah, without them, the circus doesn't work. All the illusions are gone, which is why their name is also so great.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they know everyone's secrets. Of course, they don't tell everybody all the time. Like, they keep the good ones for themselves. Like, so much would have been cleared up.
Right?
If people could actually communicate this better. That's usually the case.
And the clowns didn't want to destroy everything.
They were like holding on to it. Or no, they just wanted to see what happened when well, the house thing, right? So Avalon, the ringmaster's wife, really wants a house, and he's buying one, but it's actually for Ansel and North. And she doesn't know that, but everyone else does. And it's this really, at first you're kind of as gleeful as everyone else, then you start to pity her a little bit for that. Not a lot, because she's still a terrible person, but
she's the closest thing I think to a bad guy that the book has.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah. Oh, really? Okay. It's a rich book. There's a lot to talk about.
But no, you're right. That like, so she even has levels of like trying to do the right thing, but she's definitely a shit person. Like,
whereas Ansel's just an idiot.
Yeah, he's just young and dumb. Like, that's
super dumb. It's like, oh no, but she's in love with me.
Also, he's like the child of someone in power, and he's a very good illustration of what happens when you have children of people in power that just kind of assume things.
That is true. Major entitlement issues.
Both to bodies and to resources and to life, which is interesting.
Everything, and yeah, to being raised that you're thinking that you're better than everyone clearly is not good. Well, and you see that with the Islanders too.
Yeah.
The Landwalkers. That in some ways their way of life really isn't sustainable, and they don't see that. They just think it's the best because that's what they know. Yeah,
and it gets right back into us and them. Ansel, it's not even that he's been raised better than everybody else, but that he's special. Like, his dad is like, you're special. And why the ringmaster thinks he's special is very different than like actually being useful in any real way.
Yeah, right. I'm sure he's a decent horse performer, but
it really comes down to the idea of the ringmaster's past and others and everything. So, but I'm also Ansel and the ringmaster's wife. Just
I did see that coming, but not in a way that it felt really obvious. I don't know.
I saw it coming right before it came, but then I have to say the tone of it surprised me.
Yeah, like her motivation for doing it was different than I thought it would be.
Yeah, that definitely.
His motivation for doing it was exactly what I thought it would be.
Oh yeah, because he's a fucking idiot baby. Like, he's the mailman should just get on a boat somewhere and just yell out into the mist, be like, "Chick!"
I would not watch that show, but I would read the recaps of it. They are. They're like the pickup artists of
Yeah.
this post-apocalyptic universe. I mean, really. Also, no means no. Come on now.
Right? There not only does no mean no, but you're not as pretty, as useful, as cool, as interesting, as necessary as you think you are, boy. Like,
no. Everybody's replaceable, clearly.
yeah. Ugh. But seriously, it's such a good book. Okay, so since the timer's gone off twice, I guess we should probably do final thoughts. And it's also 1:27.
Yeah, we should do that.
Okay.
You want to go first? Or you want me to go first? What?
This is my final recommendation.
I agree. No, it was an awesome way to start out the year, first of all.
And yeah, it was actually a really good book to start with because it and I should be more reasonable. There's a lot of waters run deep. Another water joke. But no, it's a wonderful book. There's so many different parallels to everyone in there. Like we said, there's 3 different characters to deal with motherhood. There's young women themselves. North's Bear deserves its own kind of book.
Yeah.
The book, but I mean, in terms of, we could have an entire discussion about North's Bear because it's an amazing cue that's used in the book. Lots of different things. I mean, fuck, the guy is kept in golden chains.
Seriously. Oh, and their performances. The one performance where he deviates.
Yeah.
So amazing. Whoa. And eerie. Really eerie.
Yeah, and I will say this right off the bat because this is a spoiler, but I feel like it's a little bit necessary because I didn't quite know the tone of the book starting out, and I was scared of this the whole book. North does not fuck her bear. Like, we don't.
No. People think that she did.
Yeah, no. Anybody that thinks that she did is somebody who's looking for that to happen and is not actually reading the book. Because if you read the book, the bear represents so many different things to North, and the death of the bear is also another representation. And we're talking.
Spoiler.
Sorry.
Bear dies. Yeah. Well, no, I was thinking we should probably say that anyway because it's hard for people to read some books where bad things happen to animals, and this is one of those books.
Yeah, but it is not gory. That's another thing about the traumas in the book. When they happen and they are matter of fact, but they're not stretched out to any lengths that feel unnecessary. Like, it's a very thoughtful book, and I super enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Okay,
I agree. No, it's cool. The gender stuff was cool. The LGBTQ stuff was different in a way that I appreciated. It's beautifully written. She's a talented lady.
Oh, yes.
I will be glad to see more from her.
Hell yeah.
The mythical stuff was subtle in a way that was interesting and not irritating. I'm glad we read it, and I would call it literature. I think I would definitely call this one literature.
100%, because again, there's the parallels you can sit there and go through, arguments you can make are just phenomenal. And the more I think about it, the more I could think that this book, in a very loose, light way, and this could be deemed spoilery again, so sorry at this point.
It's added to the description at this point.
Yeah, when I post it on the blog, I'll be like, hey, so our loose lips sink a ton of ships, so just listen. Yeah, I was gonna do it anyway. I never said that other one was my last one anyway. But I
put a limit on it.
But I think ultimately there's an argument here that this book is actually a coming of the age of mer people in the very beginning, like where most books talk about the fall of civilizations. This book, in a very, very, very small microcosm, is the very beginning of a rise, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, that's really well put. I think we could end on that.
Cool. Yay for people watching this in the future. Thanks. You got that. That was cool.
Much appreciated.
Yeah, for us watching this now, yay, we got the mics to work. Woo! Woo! I don't know how often we're going to do this, but it was super fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
All right. Goodbye, friend.
Bye.
Bye, internet friends.